Before we go anywhere else, let me say this plainly and directly to you as a fellow student of history. If you value grounded, research-driven survival history, subscribe to this channel now and share it with someone who takes the past seriously. This channel exists to preserve hard knowledge, not entertainment noise. What follows is the kind of material that once kept families alive, and today still matters. Now, let's open with something most documentaries rush past. During World War II, starvation in cities was not a looming threat. It was an everyday condition. Bombing destroyed rail lines, fuel shortages crippled food transport, and rationing systems favoured soldiers and heavy labourers. Ordinary civilians, especially the elderly, women and children, survived because they remembered plants their grandparents once used when money failed. Urban foraging was not romantic, and it was not optional. It was systematic, cautious, and rooted in local knowledge, passed quietly between neighbours. If you stay with me for the next several minutes, you'll understand how weeds growing in pavement cracks became calories, vitamins, and psychological lifelines, and how that knowledge can still be applied today. Why urban foraging became a survival skill rather than a hobby. By 1941, cities across Europe and Asia faced food systems under extreme strain. Imported grain vanished, meat became scarce, and fresh produce was seasonal at best. Urban dwellers did not suddenly become foragers. They reactivated a dormant skill set. Many had grown up one generation removed from rural life. They knew which plants were safe because they had eaten them before, not because a manual told them so. Foraging focused on plants that were resilient, abundant, and required no cultivation. These were weeds, precisely because they thrived in disturbed soil bomb craters, tram lines, and abandoned lots. The lesson here is practical. Survival foods are rarely delicate. They survive human neglect and environmental abuse because that is what they evolved to do. Dandelion was one of the most relied upon plants in wartime cities, not because it tasted good, but because every part of it was usable. Leaves were boiled to reduce bitterness and eaten like spinach. Roots were roasted and ground as a coffee substitute when imports collapsed. Flowers were fermented into weak wines that provided calories and morale. The practical takeaway is simple. If you are assessing a plant for survival use, versatility matters more than flavour. In a modern context, dandelion still grows along sidewalks and vacant plots worldwide. Knowing how to identify it correctly, harvest away from traffic contamination and process it through boiling rather than raw consumption mirrors exactly how wartime civilians reduced risk. Plantain leaves and the quiet importance of medicinal foraging. Broadleaf and narrowleaf plantain were valued less as food and more as medicine. In bombed cities where hospitals were overwhelmed, crushed plantain leaves were applied to cuts, burns, and insect bites to reduce infection. This matters because, well, malnutrition and minor wounds were a deadly combination. Plantain leaves could be eaten when young, but their real value was keeping people functional. Applied knowledge today means recognizing that survival foraging is not only about calories. When supply chains fail, infection becomes as dangerous as hunger. Learning which common plants offer antiseptic or anti-inflammatory properties is a force multiplier in any survival scenario. Chickweed and lamb's quarters filled the nutritional gap left by the absence of fresh vegetables. Both are high in vitamins A and C, which prevented deficiency diseases in populations already weakened by rationing. These plants were often harvested early in the morning, blanched quickly and mixed into stews, stretched with grain substitutes. The method matters, you know. Blanching removed bitterness and reduced the risk of digestive upset. Applied today, this reinforces a key rule. Preparation is as important as identification. Nettles and the discipline of safe harvesting under pressure. Stinging nettle deserves special attention because it required technique. Nettles were rich in iron and protein, critical nutrients when meat was unavailable. Harvesters used gloves or thick cloth, collected young tops, and boiled them thoroughly to neutralize the sting. Nettles were then added to soups or mashed into pastes. This is an example of disciplined risk management. People did not avoid useful plants because they were dangerous. They learned how to handle them safely. One of the most overlooked aspects of World War II foraging was, well, restraint. Folks really stuck to a short list of plants they knew beyond any doubt. Experimentation was rare, you know, because mistakes could be fatal. Knowledge came from family memory, not pamphlets or rumours. That lesson is evergreen, honestly. In any crisis, limit yourself to species you can identify with absolute certainty. Build that certainty before you need it. Practice in normal times. Verify with multiple sources. And, well, never expand your foraging list during an emergency. Applying World War II urban foraging lessons today without nostalgia or fantasy. The value of this history is not reenactment, it is preparedness. Walk your neighbourhood and note which edible plants already grow without help. Learn how pollution affects harvesting locations. Practice boiling, fermenting and drying small batches. Keep notes the way wartime families did, quietly and practically. Urban foraging is not about escaping society. It is about surviving its temporary failure. If this kind of grounded, research-driven survival history matters to you, subscribe to the channel, share this video with someone who still believes the past has lessons left to teach, and stay with us. This knowledge once kept cities alive. There is no reason it should be forgotten again.